I'm Randi Weingarten. I'm the president of the AFT, and I was just at the Navient annual shareholder meeting, which lasted about 25 minutes. 25, not an hour, not 3 hours, but 25 minutes. And I'm with some really important fellow shareholders. These two colleagues of mine put together what was a kick-ass, my words, not theirs, shareholder resolution to the Navient board that tried to get the Navient board to actually be far more transparent about its governance measures, about its practices. And I want to just give such credit and kudos to the Rhode Island Treasurer, Seth Magaziner, and to the AFL-CIO's Capital Strategies Department for putting this together. Randy, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Sure. As long-term shareholders, we're concerned that Navient isn't taking the risk of the growing student loan debt crisis seriously. We want to know how they're managing it, what metrics they're using, and whether or not their executive compensation policies reflect the management of such risks. Navient stonewalled us at every turn, but with a 35% preliminary vote in favor of our proposal, it seems that shareholders want this information as much as we do.
So Sarah, you were so amazing at the meeting because Randy started, remember I said it was 25 minutes. I think between the three of us, we took probably 15 of that 25. So Randy started by making the argument, then you ceded your time so I could ask some questions, and then you followed up. But you were so amazing because you followed up in the position of shareholding.
Yeah, we had him shook. And whether you are a borrower, I am a former Navient borrower. I did not pay off my Navient loans. I had them transferred to another servicer because I was tired of Navient. Whether you're a shareholder or a taxpayer, the performance of this company has major implications in your life. The company defended their attempts to exclude our proposal by saying that the financial risks of the student loan crisis do not fall on the company and the shareholders, but rather on the federal government. That seemed a little callous, passing the buck to us, but then when you look at some of their underlying financial products, it turns out that the risk is not just on the federal government, but it's also on Navient. Whether you hold shares in Navient through your pension plan, as I currently do, or you're a borrower who has to deal with some of the problems that Navient has had in the past with its servicing standards. And with these asset-backed securities, which are really complicated financial instruments that you might remember from the mortgage crisis, we don't know what's going to happen if these student loan asset-backed securities go bad, which might happen. Look at all of the defaulted student loan debt. That's $9 billion in defaulted loan, or 9 million borrowers with defaulted loans. We've got $1.5 trillion in outstanding debt. Who knows what's going to happen if that pyramid comes crumbling down in an era of stagnating wages and with millennial job options becoming so limited. We don't know. This is a house of cards, and as shareholders, we're concerned what that means for our investment.
So this is the bottom line. So first off, I really want to thank Randy and Sarah, because if that board listened to 1/100th of what they would have said, they would have supported the shareholder resolution, not opposed it. But this is the problem. This board, and I witnessed it today, they are tone deaf to the issues that shareholders, that investors, that students all over the country have. They are the largest loan service provider there is in this current generation. Basically, the federal government gave them the business, and instead of actually trying to do everything they can to help students graduate from college, pay their loans,
and be able to have a life without being burdened by $1.5 billion of debt.
Trillion.
I'm sorry, excuse me, $1.5 trillion of debt, instead of actually acting as if they were a provider to their end users. They were they ignored the data, they ignored the questions, they passed the buck, and they pretend they engage in false fact. I was shocked that everything we said, like for example, that the veteran settlement, they said, oh no, we didn't do anything wrong, but we still settled the case for $140 million. Anyway, I digress right now. We went in there to try to get them to have some accountability and to have some transparency. We expected, like with most shareholder resolutions, that you would get almost next to no support. What we saw, and Randy said this, is over 35% of the shareholders agreed with us. That is unbelievable for shareholder resolution. So it's shareholders, it's investors, it's people who get loans. We are fighting this fight against Navient to be more transparent, to be more accountable, and to actually take some responsibility for this debt crisis. $1.5 trillion of debt, for a quarter of the borrowers defaulting, many of them being serviced by Navient. And I really appreciate Randy and Sarah, you being there today, fighting the fight for shareholders, but also for so many teachers and nurses and veterans who actually have been burdened in so many ways by Navient's abusive, predatory, and bad practices. Thank you.